And we're live. Come one, come all. Nothing but love, nothing but good feelings. And today we are doing our One Piece Chapter 1002 discussion. We didn't get the chance to do it over the weekend. I have with me today Daniel. So, hello, Daniel.
Hello, hello.
Don't quite think that came through that time.
Hello, hello.
Yep, that time it came through. There's a little bit of
Nice.
latency issues happening with Discord by the seams of it. So we'll
Yeah,
just have
seems
to
like
work
it.
around it, but it is what it is. So, I guess first things first, the link to the chapters in the Discord at the moment, but do you want to just hop over to page one?
Sure thing, we'll do.
Also, in the Discord is some of the artwork currently that has been released by Badoichi, the guy that normally does Doctor Stone is doing the Ace novel adaptation as a manga, and so we've gotten some art
Ah,
release for Jimbei, Shanks, Rayleigh, Ace, and the Red Hair Pirates, and that stuff looks damn phenomenal.
yeah, it does look really cool.
It's actually like ridiculously good looking. If anyone needs to or would like to see that stuff, if you haven't seen it already, link to the Discord is in the description down below. Alrighty. And so on page one here we have Kaido and Big Mum up in the air doing their big boss battle sort of stuff. Um,
Uh-huh.
and Kaido just absolutely unleashes on everyone this his destructive wind, the giant invisible slashes that we saw him use against the scabbards that absolutely ripped into them. And yeah, pretty much all I can say is just he absolutely just cuts through Kid and Kid's mech here. It was really impressive to see Zoro block it, wasn't it?
Yeah. Um, One thing I wanted to mention, yeah, I'm fairly sure that these were like near invisible, or at least they moved fast enough that they didn't know they were coming, right? Because they said something about how they like
I
didn't
think you're
have
still
any.
cutting in and out a bit there, but yeah, they were invisible. I think that's what you're saying. They were invisible slashes, right?
Yeah, they
Um,
were like either invisible or very, very fast.
my interpretation of what's happened here is if you look at Zoro throughout the raid so far, one of the big fights he had earlier in the arc was against Apu, right? And so the big thing that he made a point to state against Apu was he couldn't see the trajectory of Apu's attacks. And so during the course of the fight with Apu, and more specifically what's happening here, I think he's learning to read the opponent as opposed to the projectile. Instead of reacting solely to the attack itself, he's reacting to the person producing the attack. And I think he's even using Kid and Killer here as a bit of a depth gauge to see how quickly these things are coming. Saw that they're cutting through and knew sort of instinctively when to block based on how fast it would have moved from that.
Yeah, that's fair. It doesn't look like Kid had the opportunity to get out of the way, and Killer only
Oh,
just got out of the way.
Yeah, well, I don't think Kid. I think Kid was closer than Zoro, but I think, like I said, Zoro's just sort of using him as a depth gauge here anyway. Saw that there was an attack, so that would have been the notification that like there's an attack coming, and then he's used him in that situation to block and divert the attack. You know what I mean?
My idea was that
So
um,
then,
my idea was that there was multiple blades, and so each of them were dealing with a different blade. So I thought they all got hit at the same time by different blades.
yeah, hang on one second. My headset's still play. I think it might potentially be the headset playing up. Just give me one
Okay.
moment. Alright, headset should be good. Try talking now.
Yeah. Hello, hello.
I can hear you perfectly fine. The only reason I thought it might have been the headset is because I could see the desktop audio still picking you up, but I couldn't hear.
Right, okay.
So I dare say that's what the problem was. It seems like
Yeah.
it's fixed now. Alright. Well, that makes things a hell of a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully you can hear me well now.
So yeah, essentially then we jump straight into Luffy in Gear 4 attacking Kaido. And more importantly, I think here is Kid managing to hurt Kaido by slamming him on the ground. And so I feel like Kid's whole plan here is sort of to squeeze the meat out of the skin in a way. Like he knows how hard and durable Kaido's like defensive armoring shell is, and so instead of trying to pierce it or pound it, he's just sort of trying to squish him enough that the force has got to force that, like it's got to force him out somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a decent idea. Like the thing is it seems like Kid can like help in order to like hurt Kaido a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily seem any kind of level where you would consider him ever being able to 1v1.
hang on 1 second. I'm just going to swap to a different headset. This one still seems like it's playing up. Give me 1 moment. Good thing about having multiple headsets. Alrighty, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear.
And I can hear you. I think that's sorted now. I don't know what it is. Maybe that headset's on its way out. Or it might have just been that I've got so much stuff set up on the computer right now that it's just cutting out that. Alrighty. So yeah, then after Kid squishing Kaido, or trying to slam Kaido, we have Kaido jump at Law to bite Law, and Law gamma knifes him, theoretically in the heart. And so, crazy thing to see here is we don't know whether or not Law was correct in getting it on the heart or not, right? But seemingly, whether he's hit him or not, this is a move that essentially took out Doflamingo almost, or it like did a 50 HP cut on Doflamingo, or a significant damage on Doflamingo, right? Like when Lord used Gamma Knife on Dofi, the rest of the fight he was holding his side, only fighting with sort of one arm. So the fact that Kaido takes this and literally shrugs it off, just actually saying, "Damn, upstart, so you can counter my durability." Or like Kaido has shown so far that anything that is able to get through to him to hurt him, he's healing from instantly. I don't know if that's a byproduct of the dragon fruit. I don't know if that's just his like a testament to his overall capabilities, or if potentially he's an awakened zone user, since we know is that awakened zone users have a really high recovery rate. But like, in all honesty, it is kind of terrifying, not how much HP he has, but how easily he's able to rebound from these attacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does like genuinely seem like all of these attacks are putting like numerous holes. Like if you actually look at the Gamma Knife, there's not just the actual point of impact. There's also like some almost like looks like lightning blasts coming out of other parts of his like chest area. And so he's putting multiple holes into him. He's not just putting that one small blade into him. Yet in the next panel that you see him, there's not multiple holes in his chest.
Hang on 1 moment again. Sorry, mic is cutting out again. I've got one last ditch effort. This is why it always pays to have multiple mics set up. Gotta love technical difficulties. Unfortunately, I can't see my other headphones around, so I'm just gonna have to make do with these. It is what it is, but we'll just continue from here. Just be aware that I don't know if the recording's picking up you completely, but I definitely am cutting out when it looks like you can still be heard by the audience.
Okay.
So yeah, Law definitely does Gamma Knife, does some reasonable damage, and then I think the most shocking part of the entire chapter happens, and that's Killer getting a ridiculously good hit on Kaido. Am I right?
Yeah.
Crazy. Don't know about you, but this attack alone and what Zoro does at the end of the chapter just cemented to me that they are both above Cracker. Like, those two attacks alone end Cracker.
If they hit.
It is just ridiculous to me that Killer has an attack that just bypasses defense and can cause enough damage to make a Yonko spit blood. Did you have much thoughts on the attack itself?
I thought it was pretty insane. I thought there should be a lot of holes in Kaido after that attack. But there seems to
definitely
be none.
Definitely took me by surprise, to say the least. Sorry. Still hard to tell whether or not you're talking or not at times because it just cuts in and out, you know what I mean? It is what it is, though.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
So yeah, then immediately after that, we have Big Mom essentially just take out Killer with just a straight up NL lightning bolt from the heavens. Essentially, that was just like Big Mom's just been sitting back, sort of doing nothing. Kaido's just been letting them all just kind of get their hits in on him, see how it's going, just gauging the fight, gauging the situation. Big Mom's just sort of sitting in the background like the older sister watching a little brother sort of like get pushed around a little, and so she just comes in, just goes, "You're out, you're out, you're out, you're out." And by the end of the chapter, she's taken pretty much everyone down in a hit but Luffy, which is crazy to think of.
Yeah, she's definitely acting as like the main attacker right now, while Kaido just takes all the damage.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. That being said, I also thought it was very funny that after Killer got hit, Kaido goes to try and eat him, and Luffy just Rhino Schneiders him in the face to get him out of the way. And then we get that sort of epic scene, which I don't know if you have been made aware of this, but this attack itself is actually it's the same attack that Ryuma does to defeat the dragon in the one-shot monsters, and it's also the same. Yeah, it's the move that they use to do that, and it's also the move that Zoro used to defeat Ryuma in Thriller Bark. And so the interesting thing here is sort of Zoro, for the most part, only ever really uses one sword style with the Wado Ichimonji. So it's really interesting to see he's taking up the role of using one sword style here with the with Enma, and you can definitely see the power emanating off Enma.
Yeah, I think
so
it looks pretty. Yeah.
I'll bring your attention here. So you can see the image of Onigashima at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So you can see the horn that's been cut off.
Yeah.
So I made a note of this while doing the live reaction. Essentially, I've seen multiple people try to get a rough sizing on how big Onigashima is as an island. You can't see it there, but to the left of the sword and lower down, it might have been on part of the island that didn't get lifted up. But there's an umbrella there that has been scaled next to the Sunny as being roughly 700 meters tall, with that sword
Tall.
being around 900 meters tall in comparison, right? So that horn that Zoro offhandedly cut there is around 200 meters in width, and so that is bigger from memory than what a lot of people estimate Pika to be in full height in his giant stone form.
Yeah.
So essentially, it seems like Zoro can now one-shot Pika from a distance, long ways. Just cut him straight down the middle. Which is
Yep.
just one of those sort of... It's really good to see that sort of progression and those sorts of development, but it's also just crazy to think of how much growth has sort of come through there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so immediately following that as well, we have Zoro get taken out of the, well, seemingly taken out of the fight. More importantly, you can see Zoro wheezing, so this did do a lot of sort of stamina drain for him. I really think Enma is Zoro's version of a Gear 4, where it's gonna have that same like ridiculous Haki drain that Luffy had fighting Doflamingo with Gear 4. I feel like Zoro's only going to have a few attacks in him before he might need like a 10-minute break, the same as Luffy. Just because the sword and the way he fights, he's going to have to start using a lot more Haki to sort of keep up with the same normal moveset that he usually was able to cope with the less Haki with the likes of Shisui, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then we come to Big Mom and Kaido, obviously just raining terror. Big Mom does this crazy attack where she controls a lightning bolt that travels around like a heat seeker and takes out all the supernovas there. Obviously, doesn't work on Luffy because Luffy's rubber. But then Luffy gets caught in the blast breath of Kaido. And the interesting thing there is it did do a bit of damage to him, but seemingly he's used Rio there to defend against it. The same that the anime opening showed last year before, which sort of seems like the anime's spoiled another thing for manga readers somehow this arc, but it is what it is. And Luffy unleashes a new attack, the Kong Gatling, not to be confused with the Kong Organ. And so I sort of don't know what to make of this attack. Do you? Because I always thought Kong Organ was the Gatling version of this attack, where he is moving so fast that he's just making sort of a row of punches. But this really seems more akin to his regular Gatling punches, just in Gear 4.
Yeah. It's hard to tell what the difference would be realistically from strength wise.
Mm. It look, to say the least, it definitely is it is unique, and it is really cool to see this tremendous growth and just the overall development in that some of these supernova are having, and just in a point blank way, it's impressive to see how far they've come and what they're capable of and what they're actually doing, and the fact that Killer this chapter to me showcased an ability that powerful, like powerful enough to actually hurt a Yonko to that degree, just makes me feel like we really haven't gotten into what Kid's capable of yet. And so I don't know what Luffy's time limit is these days with Gear 4, but if we assume maybe at some point in the fight Luffy runs out of Gear 4 and needs time to recharge, it'd be very interesting if Kid takes over Luffy's role there as the main damage inflictor on Kaido. and sort of fills that role while Luffy regains his haki for a pseudo round 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does seem pretty interesting. Um, I'd be curious if something like Snake Man does is harder to stay in than his standard Gear 4 Bound Man, because he seems to go into Bound Man pretty freely, but he only goes into Snake Man every now and then.
Yeah, Snake Man definitely does seem like the speed base of the form. This version seems a lot tankier, trying to do more damage to Kaido here. The question is Luffy still just punching, or is he using Rio, or is he using a very slight amount of Rio with each strike? You know what I mean? Because we haven't been getting that same sort of glossening around him, and so we do sort of know that there is a second level to just regular armament hardening. We've seen the likes of Katakuri use it, where it's sort of a next level for just regular hardening that hurts a little bit more. So maybe that can, maybe if Luffy's doing something more similar to that, that can still damage Kaido, just nowhere near as much as Rio, but it doesn't cost nearly as much of his Haki gauge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that definitely could be the case.
I think more importantly though is what do you think's going to happen next chapter? Because at this point, we have had 3 straight chapters of Supernova fighting the Yonko, and part of me wants to say that we move over to see other stuff, but another part of me would not be surprised if Oda's really just trying to push for a whole volume of just these Supernova versus the Yonko. You know what I mean? Because just think about that. At no point in the history of One Piece have you had 10 straight chapters of just one fight. And if it were to happen for any event, you would really have to consider giving it to Luffy's first defeat of a Yonko, let alone 2 Yonko. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that definitely could be the case, and I honestly hope that it just keeps going along with the fights. Um, I've been liking to see it, and I want to see more of these people's abilities because right now it's a lot of speculation. They haven't shown all their cards. We don't know who's as strong as who, and I want that information to come out sooner rather than later.
Mm. Now I understand with the whole speculation of who's as strong as who. Like, if we're being completely honest, like talking about strength comparison, right? If you look at Killer here, Killer hasn't had any power ups this arc, right? This is just sort of what Killer was leading into this. So this is what Killer was sort of even as far back as Dressrosa. Whereas since then, Zoro's had some pretty big power ups, especially in Enma. And so I tell you what, it really brings to question for me how the fight would have gone against Zoro versus Killer had Zoro had his 3 swords and had Killer had his what were they called? His Punisher scythes when they had their duel in Ringo, because the fact that Killer's able to do attacks like this that just bypass any form of defense would be like pretty outstanding, especially when because he's got 2 blades, he can use one blade to attack like an offensive attack or block while using this attack sort of in any direction that he can sort of point his arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, so he does distinctly say that if he says it looks like I can get through if I slice you up from inside. So that implies that the place that he's running to on Kaido, because he's standing on Kaido's back as he says that, it seems like he's running to a place where Kaido's hide is a much weaker. So I don't necessarily know if he's actually cutting through the dragon scales or whatever. I think he's more cutting through a weak point in the dragon scales.
Uh, Sorry, that sort of cut out right at the end there. Let me see if I can change this up and see if that makes it any better or any worse. Sorry, can you try and repeat that last little bit for me?
Basically, it seems like Killer has run to a position on Kaido's back where he doesn't have the dragon scales to protect his hide, so that Killer can actually do damage. It doesn't seem like he's pierced through them. It just seems like he's
Yeah,
avoided them.
it definitely does seem like a sonic attack. I unfortunately am still very struggling to hear you, and I'm thinking at this point in time, there's not much I can do to get around it. So it is what it is. We might just sort of talk about our theories for the next chapter and call this stream a little bit earlier than usual. I know we've already talked about doing another stream in the next day or two as well for chapter 1003, and more specifically, the new SBS and new One Piece magazine drops this tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow or Friday. So there'll be a lot more information to sort of cover over the weekend as well anyway. So is there anything that you wanted to sort of put out there as a your predictions for the next chapter?
I just hope that it's more fighting, and that's pretty much all I hope for.
I sort of agree. Crazily enough, we're at chapter 1002 now, so we've sort of we've gone past the 40 chapter mark for Act 3. So unless it's going to wrap up in sort of 3 chapters, this act might go like a lot longer than expected. Especially if there's still like more stuff to set up. Even a potential return of Orochi, if Orochi's not completely dead, although at this stage it's honestly feeling like Orochi's just completely out of this arc. I really do hope there's just going to be more fighting, but part of me also feels a little skeptical because it's sort of unprecedented in One Piece, but at the same time, it's because it's unprecedented, and this, even just so far, this arc has just been made to break the stereotypes in One Piece in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Well, well, if that's everything to cover for the moment, just for the chapter, I know it was only a brief video. Normally we get into these discussions a lot more, but having technical difficulties sort of can make it very hard to have an actual conversation when you can only hear every other word, so it is what it is. I'll have to sort something out between now and the next stream. Well, until next time, peace. Have a damn good day. Thank you for coming out, talking anything anime and manga related. Definitely appreciate it if you join the Discord, do all the other stuff. You know what it's like. Peace, and have a good week.